Right, on to item number 1 on this evening's agenda, so declarations of interest. So I need to ask if any members have any interest to declare. Members provide details of any interest they declare. Councillor Goodman first.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to declare an interest in item number 8F on the agenda, health and special expenses for street lighting, as I am a joint council taxpayer with my husband. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other members? Any other interest? Councillor Riley, yeah? Okay, thank you much. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Holland? Yeah.
Just my interest as a resident of Helston and a parish councillor.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 2 on this evening's agenda, so apologies for absence. Claire, can you please report any apologies for absence, please?
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from councillors Mancini Boyle, Jones, Eden and Auber.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 3 then, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 19th of December 2024. So I'd like to refer members to the minutes at page 8 of the agenda and ask members to indicate by show of hands if they're happy to approve them as a true and accurate record. So in favour? And if there's any members got any matters arising from those minutes at all? No? Okay, great. Moving on to item number 4, so minutes of the committee meetings. I'd like to refer members to the minutes of the recent meetings of Cabinet, Planning, Audit and the Overview and Scrutiny Committee from page 18 of the agenda. So this is purely providing for information, and due to the sequence of how some of these are published online and different matters, you might find there might be older versions. So just be aware of that. Okay. Moving on to item number 5, so announcements. So I'd like for everyone to my engagements listed on page 66. I'd also like to invite you also to my civic reception on the 14th of March. I hope to see as many of you there as possible. I'm holding a charity raffle on behalf of the Natasha's Allergy Foundation, a charity very, very close to my heart. And my daughter suffers lots of severe allergies as well, just like Natasha's did as well. So yeah, I'd appreciate as many members to turn up on the evening. I think there's just some good auction prizes, but we also are running a raffle as well. So those that are, there's a bit of potluck and there's a bit of auction there. So please come along if possible on that. Thank you very much. So any other announcements? So any announcements from the Vice Chair there? No. On there. Lena?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everybody. The main event of this evening's meeting will be to consider Broadland's budget proposal for 25-26. I won't be going into the detail here, as I know our finance portfolio holder has a comprehensive and detailed proposal. I'd like to thank Councillor Steve Riley and all the finance team who have worked so hard to achieve this excellent budget. I would like to turn to the subject of devolution and local government reorganisation, which has moved on since our last meeting. On the 9th of February, the Government Minister, Jim McMahon, wrote to all council leaders in Norfolk to outline the process for devolution to a mayoral authority across Norfolk and Suffolk. The elections for this will happen in 2026, and the Government has launched a consultation which I urge you all to consider and offer your comments to. You will find a link to this on our website and in various social media posts. There is sometimes some confusion about the changes which are coming to local government, and we need to be aware that it has two parts running in parallel. Devolution forms one part, local government reorganisation is the other. All council leaders in Norfolk have been invited to work together to submit proposals for a reorganisation from district and county councils to unitary authorities. This means that all our existing councils will be abolished and new unitary authorities will be formed. As part of the work towards this, I'm pleased to say that all the districts have been clear that the proposals should be evidence-based and use the criteria the government has given us in an effort to achieve the best possible outcome within those parameters. So we are working together, having data and evidence produced, which will give us, we hope, the very best solution for what we could come up with from these unitary councils, bearing in mind that there are limitations placed on us as to what we can actually make those to be. We must ensure that our communities, businesses and indeed all residents are given the opportunity to have a say in the structures which may be on offer. To that end, I'm happy to say that Broadland will be putting together a programme of media releases, website updates and parish forums and meetings to reach as widely as possible. I'm sure all councillors here, as I am, will be liaising with and listening to their parish councils as we try to achieve the best way forward. We will also be holding an all-member briefing where we will aim to be giving as much information as we possibly can that will help us all to be able to liaise with our friends and neighbours so that they're all able to put their comments forward on this process. So thank you for that, and I hope we all enjoy our process as we get towards it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holland. So, any announcements from any members of the Cabinet? Councillor Davis?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I just want to give a brief feedback on the recent Norfolk Flood and Drought Summit. But before that, as a kind of precursor, I'd just like to re-emphasise the importance and significance of declaring a climate and biodiversity emergency that we did. I mean, the value of declaring a climate and biodiversity emergency has sometimes been questioned, and I'd just like to reiterate why this council has made a declaration and its purpose. Declaring a climate and biodiversity emergency is an action taken to acknowledge the planet and humanity is in crisis. It's not flag waving or virtue signalling in any way, but it's a recognition that global warming and biodiversity loss exists and that the measures taken up to this point are not enough. It's an emergency and we need to do more. It highlights the need to invest in actions and measures that address human-caused global warming by limiting carbon emissions where we can and adapting to the changes brought about by climate change, which we're clearly going to have to do, certainly in Norfolk, that we see all around us. By declaring a climate emergency, councils can demonstrate their commitment to addressing one of the most pressing challenges of our time and to mobilise action at the local level and action at the national and international level. It's particularly important if we are to work with our communities to address climate and biodiversity loss. It's not about passing on the responsibility to individuals, families and communities alone. It's a one-way process. It's not a one-way process, but it's about, in terms of telling what communities what to do, but it's about collaborating and listening to views and bringing everyone together to address those twin crises of climate and nature. It's good to see that South Norfolk Council at their meeting yesterday evening are committed to measures under conserving South Norfolk, not unlike our own actions as laid out in an updated and revised climate change, environment and biodiversity action plan that will be coming to Cabinet next month. Many of the actions build on what we've already achieved and that have already been taken, with further measures planned or in progress. In relation to the precarious position in Norfolk, that Norfolk finds itself in, I did attend the Norfolk Flood and Drought Summit, which was held on the 31st of January, which was the anniversary of the 1953 tidal surge when more than 300 people died in the UK and many more perished in the Netherlands and Belgium. So it was important that at the summit, it was attended by Norfolk MPs, county and district councillors and representatives of organisations with responsibilities related to flooding, including the Norfolk County Council Flood and Water Management Team, the Environment Agency, Angling Water, the Met Office, the Association of Drainage Authorities and so on. Everyone appeared to recognise the scale of the task ahead and the need for a more efficient way of collaborating to address climate change, flooding and drought. I think there is the recognition, but do we have the will to change as individuals and organisationally? So going on from what our leader said about the upcoming devolution and local government reorganisation, I'd urge the government to take the opportunity afforded by local government reorganisation and the establishment of a regional strategic authority to embed climate and nature outcomes in all devolution deals, with clear plans to cut emissions, promote a thriving low-carbon economy with new green skills and jobs, and protect vulnerable communities from the impacts of climate change, which we're going to see here in Norfolk and the rest of the world, whilst restoring nature. So just as strategic authorities will promote a health in all policies approach, which is in section 3.8 of the white paper, they should also be expected to ensure a climate and nature in all policies approach. So thank you for that time. Just final reminder, following the request at the last council meeting, that an online resilience awareness session for elected members will be held on Monday the 3rd of March at 6 p.m. for those who are not yet signed up. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other cabinet members make for announcements? No? Oh, Councillor Riley at the end there.
Just a short announcement, Chair. In relation to the homeless situation, as you know, over the last couple of years in our administration, and obviously started off under the previous administration, we have purchased housing, but we've also applied for grants under LHF. That has actually helped our revenue account to a great degree, and also relieved the pressure on unfortunate families and individuals facing homelessness and the immediate need there. It's not mentioned in this budget because over this next year, we will be re-examining even further opportunities for housing to alleviate that even more. And I will be working up business plans in tandem with my colleague Natasha Harpley as the portfolio holder for communities. So there's more work to be done there. You'll see more movement on housing over this coming year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Riley. Any more members of the Cabinet? No? Just want to manage and direct any announcements.
Chairman, thank you. Just one. Last week, members may be aware, was celebration of Apprenticeships Week. And I just thought worth reporting to you that we started off with 4 apprentices a few years ago. And we were celebrating 17 apprentices in the organisation across both councils, and the age ranges from new entry apprenticeships to people who are mid-career or towards the twilight of their career gaining apprenticeships. So really indicative of a learning organisation. So thought that was worth reporting to you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 6 on the agenda. So questions. I can advise members we've not had any questions from the public this evening. Okay, on to item number 7 on the agenda, so public speaking. I can advise members there are no requests from public to speak at the meeting. Okay, on to item number 8 on the agenda, so this is the Cabinet. Recommendations arising from meetings held on the 14th of January and the 11th of February 2025. If I can refer members to recommendations listed on pages 67 to 69. Okay, item 8A, the draft custom and self-build housing supplementary planning document, SPD for short. Can I invite Councillor Beadle to present the recommendations from Cabinet, please?
Thank you, Chair. Much appreciated. The recommendations are more or less as set out, with the exception that the first one is slightly amended because I think it's a bit of a typo, and the first one should read: the draft custom and self-build housing supplementary planning discount SPD can go out for a 6-week public consultation to commence as soon as practical possible, and then number 2 after that. And I think it was just basically a typo in getting the minutes from the Cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas there.
Reserved right, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Any questions now and comments from members? Councillor Lamb.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually very pleased to see this come forward to Council. It's a very comprehensive document. It's really good to see more guidance and detail provided for self and custom build applicants, and to see the document go out for consultation. So I'm very happy to support it.
Okay, any other members? No. So back to the seconder. Do you wish to respond? Okay. Councillor Beadle, would you like to respond at the end of the debate? Okay, great. Okay, so I'd like to refer members to the recommendations below and ask them to vote for them, for or against them. So, okay, so the recommendation of the council is to agree the draft custom and self-build housing supplementary plan document can go out for a 6-week public consultation to commence as soon as practically possible. And item 2, sign off any minor amendments to the SPD prior to public consultation can be delegated to the Assistant Director for Planning in consultation with the portfolio holder for planning as appropriate. So, I'd like to refer members to vote. So, those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, moving on to item 8B on the agenda, so the rechargeable repairs policy. I'd like to invite Councillor Hartley to present the recommendations from Cabinet, please.
Thank you, Chair. So while the Council has always charged for damage caused, there isn't an actual policy that details how we treat damage to our accommodation. So this policy will not only plug that gap, but it will also ensure that we are legally compliant in the event of any challenge from the Housing Ombudsman. We want to make sure that our properties are decent places to live and that all repairs are carried out effectively and in a timely manner. So this policy ensures that residents understand what they are responsible for and that there is consistency for decisions made about recharging, which in turn will help officers to more efficiently manage the repairs and maintenance budget. The full details of the rechargeable repairs policy are in your papers, but in summary, some of the highlights of the aspect are that we will charge residents for damage caused by neglect or carelessness, be clear about the charges residents are expected to pay, protect and support vulnerable people, provide an excellent service and be fair and equitable, and provide accommodation which attains the decent homes standard. Be proactive and use measures which prevent and minimise rechargeable repairs, work with our partners to provide advice and assistance to tenants to receive budgeting advice, and take prompt and appropriate action to recover debts. All of the key principles within the rechargeable repairs policy align with various existing arrangements, and I commend it to Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hartley. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas, do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
Speak now quickly, if I may, Chair. Just thanks to the officers in committee for getting this piece of work together. We need to have this in place, so it's thanks all round, and I recommend it to Council to vote it through. Thank you.
Can I invite any questions or comments from members on this one? Anything? No? Okay, back to Councillor Hartley to respond in the debate.
No, just move straight to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to refer members to the recommendation below and ask to vote for and then against. So recommendation that the Council adopt the rechargeable repairs policy. Those voting in favour?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous as well. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to item 8C on the agenda, the Council Tax Assistance Scheme 2025 and 2026, which is on page 117. Can I invite Councillor Hartley to present the recommendations from Cabinet, please?
Thank you, Chair. So Council Tax Assistance is a scheme which reduces council tax to a more affordable level to those on low incomes. We are required to review this scheme every year. Whilst we do not have to make changes, we must review the scheme's effectiveness. Government sets out how the scheme operates for pensioners, and local authorities can shape their own schemes for those of working age. There hadn't been any changes to our scheme since April 22, as independent analysis determined that the scheme was meeting its objectives, and therefore no changes were needed. Due to continued cost of living pressures, when the review was next due, we decided to set up a series of member workshops to really deep dive into the scheme and see if it was still meeting the needs of our residents whilst also being cost effective and efficient. We commissioned an external company, Policy and Practice, to undertake some modelling on changes proposed during those workshops. This modelling highlighted the impact of those potential changes and the overall costs involved. This enabled us to make informed decisions about the changes we are considering. Following this review, we are proposing to make 3 main changes to the scheme. They are to increase the maximum percentage of CTA from 84% to 87%, to increase the amount of non-dependent deduction from £5 to £7, and to change the tolerance when assessing universal credit changes from £20 a month to minimum wage times 4.33, then rounded up to the nearest £5. Full details can be found in your papers, but essentially these changes ensure that the scheme directs support where it is most needed, is fair, is efficient, and well within the acceptable variance for being cost neutral. These changes were also put out to public consultation with an overall positive response and an average 85% in favour, regardless of whether the changes positively or negatively affected their CTA entitlement. Norfolk County Council and the Police and Crime Commissioner were also consulted. Additionally, we are proposing to change the name of the scheme from Council Tax Assistance to Council Tax Reduction. That is because Council Tax Assistance is not a term used in legislation and is not nationally recognised. Changing the name will remove any confusion and ensure that we are legally compliant. All such schemes are time sensitive, so these changes need to be approved by Council by the 11th of March and the revised scheme adopted from the 1st of April. Therefore, I commend it to Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Happy. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Ward, do you speak now, or was that right?
Yeah, just quickly. I did attend the workshop, sit here, and the changes that have been made not only benefit the residents but also benefit the administration of the officers. So I fully support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The other members, any comments? Councillor Weinreich?
Thank you, Chairman. It was just for clarity. I did raise it at the workshop, but it's not been amended here in the paper. We're talking about the minimum wage, but obviously you've got a minimum living wage, which is slightly higher. Is that what we're referring to?
Good question. I assume it's the national living minimum wage. There wasn't reference to the living wage, was there? I'm not 100% sure on that.
Because in 3.7 on page. Sorry, on 3.7 it doesn't even say the national. It just says the minimum wage. It doesn't refer to the national.
I think I'll have to seek further clarification and get back to you on that. Thank you.
Surely if we're voting on it, we need clarity. Now, I did ask for that at the workshop, and I thought it was going to be changed, and it's not been updated. So I think we need to just be clear what we mean by the minimum wage. That's all right. I don't mind which it is, but I think it needs clarity for us to vote on it. That's all. Thank you.
I've just had some clarification that we're fairly certain it is the minimum wage.
Fairly certain or certain?
Certain.
Thank you.
I'll tell you why I'm certain. I'm certain because the living wage isn't a nationally recognised actual standard. So you have to pay the minimum wage. There's a recommended living wage, but that's slightly higher. So it's the yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so it's the minimum wage.
Okay.
Yeah. So Councillor Lamond,
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thanks for all the work done by the committee and the officers on this, and I know a lot of background work was done. It's really good to see this come forward. The changes will support those who are most vulnerable in our community. It's great to see the costs come within the current budget. It will be a lot easier for staff to administer, and the change in the name, as has been mentioned, will help to reduce confusion.
thank you very much. Any more members? Councillor Stalham?
Yeah, I just think at a time when so many councils are having very tight budgets, and even before we go to the budget proposals, I think the fact that we've managed to come up with a system which is a little bit more generous is to be admired in the proposal, and I think also the consistency of the naming is not just common sense, but it's going to avoid that confusion also for residents who move to Broadland who have been claiming elsewhere and then suddenly realise that what they're looking for they won't be able to find. So I think there's a lot to say that's really good about this proposal.
Thank you very much. Any other members? No? I'd like to invite Councillor Happy to respond at the end of the debate, please.
Thank you. The only thing I really want to add is to thank everybody who took part in the workshops. It was really well attended. There was good cross-party collaboration, and I'm really pleased to see this scheme, which is going to be helping more people. So I commend it to Council. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to refer members to the recommendations and ask them to vote for or against the recommendation. The Council agrees to the proposal and adopts the changes to the Council Tax Assistance Scheme for the financial year 25-26. So, those in favour?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous as well. This is going good this evening. Okay, that's good. Right, moving on then. So item 8D on the agenda. So this is the Greater Norwich 5-year infrastructure investment plan and annual growth programme with a report on page 127. So I'd like to invite the leader to present the recommendations to the Cabinet, please.
Thank you. It's a nice snappy title, isn't it? I'm not going to repeat it because I always get my words in a muddle. I think you'll find this is a really good draft plan. It's very interesting to see how many projects are coming forward. I think it really demonstrates how when the councils work together, they can put their SIL money together to achieve really good projects. You'll see a list of them in the main data. there's a list in the report, but there's also an attached document which gives you the actual plan. It's quite a good read, and I recommend you all have a look at it. What we're really looking at for here today, though, is to note a couple of things. It works on the Greater Norwich Infrastructure Plan of 2024. It has been published in a digital format on the website, so you can go and look at it. There's also a dashboard where you can actually move things around and check. So it's really quite an interesting. If you're like me and you enjoy those sorts of things, it's really quite interesting to see how those work. So do go and have a look at it. But one of the things I think we really need to note for us here in Broadland is that it's not just that we are approving this 5-year infrastructure investment plan, but we are also including the Broadland Country Park Cafe and Visitor Centre, which will total 1.6 million, just over, of which 871,000 of that will be the pooled sill. There's also the Buckingham Ancient Woodland project, which I think is an absolutely exceptional project and very much welcomed, and I think also fits with our environmental strategy, and we're very happy to see that too included in there. So those are the recommendations basically that I would like to put to you, and I invite the Chair to carry on from here.
Thank you very much, Chair. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Yep. Okay. Do you want to speak now, or reserve your right?
Yeah, I'll speak now.
Speak now.
I think it's great to see this pooled sill money put together for good use. There's 14 projects there, and we've got 3 in Broadland. And I just want to say I support this, and it's great to have the country park going. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from any members at all? Councillor Beadle?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I'm very pleased, particularly with the Broadland Park. I actually went by there today, and I can say that the contractors are doing some preliminary works on site now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other members? Councillor Wymark?
Thank you, Chair. I think this is always has been a very good scheme, and I'm pleased to see it continue really with the projects here, but also sort of wider than that across Norfolk. We've been talking for a long time about needing a school of oral health, as we're framing it in dentists, because we've got a desperate shortage of dentists. I just want to say how pleased I am to see that going forward, and hopefully it will come to fruition in 2026, and that will sort of align with the dentist opening in Rackheath. So so I'm very pleased to see the two, and you know, I just thought I'd highlight that we are hoping that a dentist will open in, and a pharmacy, and an opticians and other consulting rooms in Rackheath in 2026 too, and with the medical centre opening this year. Lovely stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members? Councillor Copperson, and I'll come to you, Councillor Morrell, next.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted that money's come forward for the country park, and this is a high value project. Previously we had a governance board for the country park and for high value capital projects. I just wanted to ask the leader whether the governance board was still in operation, just to oversee this project coming up at the country park. Thank you.
Do you mean just this project as a governance board for this project, or do you mean for the whole of the normal, all the infrastructure?
No, previously we made governance arrangements for high value capital projects. We had a governance board for the Broadland Food Innovation Centre and also one for Broadland Country Park. And I'm just asking whether the governance board is still in existence to oversee this important capital project. Thank you.
May I? All I'm going to say is the only board that I know of is the Capital Investment Board, and I think all of this is overseen by the Cabinet. So as far as I'm concerned, that project will be overseen by the members of the Cabinet, working with the officers who are taking the project forward.
Joe, if I may. You're right, Councillor Copperson. There was a governance board set up for that, and that was on the setup of the building. You know, how it was progressing, the units being brought on board, etc. All of that was actually completed. So it got to a stage where once that was completed, the government board actually wrapped up. And that's the reason why that wrapped up, because it actually completed its task.
If I may, so this is the country park. The country park will be overseen by Cabinet along with the officers who are dealing with that project. There is no governance board for that particular project. I don't actually think we need one, to be honest with you. I think it's being managed exceptionally well by the team that are doing it. In fact, they're actually aiming to get it done in 2026, which I think is pretty swift, actually. So I'm more than happy with the structure we've actually got as it sits.
Okay, Councillor Marilyn, the question, this one.
Thank you. Yes, I did raise it over the scrutiny around on page 152. There's the education element which goes through to section 11 on page 158, where obviously we're looking at, it does mention around Rackheath, and it does say that obviously this is the first new secondary school that we built since 1979 in the area. No figures on that yet. Obviously the timing of that will be past this plan. But the initial primary school that was in development, I did ask where that was and what stage that was, because that should be within the next 3 to 5 years, so therefore should be part of this plan. And I have heard nothing since.
Any other members' comments? We'll go back to the leader. Any other comments? Back to yourself and Susan.
Okay, so there's two things really I'd like to raise. One is the Oral Health Centre, because actually I was really pleased with that, and I think I did mention it at Cabinet and completely forgot to mention it here, so I'm glad you raised it. Thank you for that. The school, those come under the county, so as far as I know, it's proceeding on that project. I will look into it for you. I don't know exactly what the timescales are for that, but that is a project from the County Council as it stands at the moment. So I will try and find out the answers for you, and I'll have to let you know. Is that all right?
Thank you. Just one thing to add on the schools thing. I have spoken to the schools team at County Council because I was interested in the high school for that part of Norwich, because for my residents in Sprowston, that'd be beneficial to them as well. Sprowston oversubscribed. So I think I spoke to the infrastructure team at Norfolk County Council. They were debating for many years whether it would be Rackheath or Beeston Park, depending on the speed of development. So currently Rackheath is the lead. For that, they're most likely to have their 1,000 homes built before Beeston Park. So they expected to be at Rackheath, and I think that they also shared with me the infrastructure plan for Norfolk County Council. Actually, it should be done by the end of the decade, the high school. So actually, under this 5-year plan, it might come in. So they also said they're preparing for the business case for next year's SIL to try to get some money from next year's SIL to try to help build a high school. So just for members' information. Okay, right. Okay, I'd like to refer members to the recommendations and ask them to vote for and then against. So recommend to Council to approve the 5-year infrastructure investment plan 2025 to 2030 and the proposed 25-26 annual growth programme set out Appendix A. 2, to include the Broadland Country Park Cafe and Visitor Centre and the Buckingham Ancient Woodland Project into the Council's capital programme commencing in 2025-2026. Have a show of hands in those in favour.
Unanimous, Chair.
That was unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 8 on the agenda. So the Broadland Local Development Scheme LDS update January 2025 on page 315. Can I invite the leader to present the recommendation from Cabinet, please?
Thank you. Yes, the purpose of the report basically is to update the local development scheme because there is a new timetable for writing the local plan, and it's designed to respond to the government's request that all English councils update their plans by 6th of March 2025. So we are therefore recommending that the amendments to the current Broadland Local Development Scheme are approved and that the timetable to review the Greater Norwich Local Plan is noted. There's a summary that tells you exactly what the elements of this are required. The government has made it very clear that they are expecting councils to do this and to do it fairly speedily, actually. I think the time frame is much smaller now than it was when we've achieved our last local plan. And bearing in mind, of course, we are talking about a Greater Norwich local plan, not just a Broadland one. So I think the elements of that are quite tricky sometimes to get forward. But I do think that on the basis that This has worked very well up to now. I would expect that our amendments will work also very well and will respond to the requirements that the government has made on councils to achieve that housing growth. I think that's really all I need to say at the moment. I hope everybody will be happy to to approve those recommendations.
Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Lamond, do you wish to speak now or reserve the right?
Yes, I'd like to speak now if I may.
Yeah.
I must say I am not a supporter of this government proposal to increase housing provision even more in our district. We only adopted the Greater Norwich Local Plan last year, and I have serious concerns about the impact of this on the environment. It will be absolutely essential that the provision of services and infrastructure goes hand in hand with any more housing development. There will also be an extra demand on council resources which had not been planned for. However, I do accept that it is a government requirement that this scheme is updated, and I thank the officers for the work that they've done on this so far and will be doing to meet this new requirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Any other questions or comments from the other members? Councillor Clancy, yeah.
The original ethos of the Great Norwich Development Partnership was jobs, infrastructure, housing. There is a risk as we go for growth and more housing consistently that the jobs or the high skilled jobs and the high value jobs and the infrastructure isn't going to happen. And that is going to be disastrous for the area in every respect, for the economy, the environment, public services, etc. So I think it's important to put on the record that whilst, and I totally agree that, you know, this effectively we have to do this because the government insists on we do it, but I'm afraid we do need to plan for the other key constituent parts, that being jobs and infrastructure. We worked on this over a long period of time, and I think it's fair and honest to say successfully, cross-party, cross-council. With a lot of work done by officers, done by members. But, you know, these new housing numbers potentially are going to put a strain on the existing infrastructure. And there's going to be, how does the new infrastructure get paid for? Yeah, okay, still 106s, etc. But, you know, we need jobs, we need high value jobs. They're not really on the horizon. So I do exercise a big note of caution that we cannot consistently continue with high housing growth without those two constituent parts. And I think it's important to put on the record that this council recognises that, whilst agreeing that we have to do the work, but I think we also have to do the work and we need to step up the work on those other two aspects. Thank you.
Councillor Clancy. Any other members got any questions or comments? No others? Okay, go back to the leaders to respond at the end of the debate.
Thank you. Yes, I do take all those comments. I would also point out, however, that we are across the whole of Greater Norwich only about 700 houses short of the target anyway. So the plan is a good one, and it was cross-party. And I also think that we all know that the infrastructure can be very difficult to get together at the same time as the housing. It's a perennial problem, and obviously we need to do as much as we can to ensure that we do have the medical centres, we do have the oral health, we do have all the things that people need in order for those communities to work. And I think that's all, that needs to be all part of the plan and will be as we go forward. Bringing those together in one point can be quite difficult and challenging, I know. But as it stands, I'm very happy to propose these amendments to the current plan and also just note that timetable, and I hope the rest of the members will also do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to refer members to the recommendations below and ask them to vote for and then against. So they recommend to the Council the proposed amendments to the current Broadland Local Development Scheme, LDS, are approved. And number 2, the timetable to review the Greater Norwich Local Plan to be noted. So those in favour?
Sheila, is your hand up? Yeah. Yeah. I think, is it unanimous? No.
No. Okay.
Grant, will you vote? I can't see Grant's hand. No.
No.
Peter, no. Okay. And against?
And those against?
Abstentions.
And abstentions? 3 abstentions, Aaron. That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, on to the main item then for this evening, so the budget. So I'd like to advise members that it is up the intention to debate items 8F, the revenue budget, and council tax, 8G, the capital strategy and capital programme, and 8H, the treasury management strategy statement together. So we'll debate all those three items together. However, there'll be separate votes will be needed on each of those items. So in accordance with the Constitution, this will mean that the portfolio holder for finance has a total of 15 minutes to speak, and all other members will have a total of 9 minutes to speak, but it should be noted that members can only speak once. I'd also like to advise members that it's a statutory requirement for a recorded vote to be taken on the following items. So the revenue budget and council tax, the capital strategy and capital programme, and the council tax resolution. So those three will be recorded votes. So now I'd like to invite Councillor Riley to present the recommendations from Cabinet, please.
Thank you, Chair. It gives me great pleasure to be able to present this budget proposals to you this evening. The proposals in front of you tonight represent a robust budget that will deliver on the key priorities of this administration. Turning first to the revenue budget, we remain in a challenging financial environment with ongoing inflationary pressures and increased demand on our services. In particular, we are seeing the need for additional support for families at risk of being homeless. Core grant support from government has been cut by 5.9%, which means that we will be receiving 338,000 less funding from government in 25-26 than what we currently receive. We also still rely upon annual settlements, which hinder us from being able to financially plan longer term. However, we have been able to raise to this financial challenge and find efficiencies and income generation opportunities, whilst also investing in our services. And this year's budget, Chair, very much builds upon last year's budget. All budgets should do that as you progress through in terms of administration. It would be remiss of me not to mention what last year's budget has provided in terms of the support for the officers and providing support for our services and enhancing them. I'm particularly proud that this administration, over the last budget period, successfully bid for 8.85 million of additional funding for supporting nutrient neutrality work across Norfolk, working closely with NEC to issue nutrient credits, resulting in over 1,000 homes in Norfolk now being able to be progressed that were previously stalled by the effects of nutrient neutrality. Purchased 8 new units for use as temporary accommodation, with a further 3 properties to be purchased by the end of this March. Funded the redevelopment works at Fretton Depot due to be completed in May 25. Continued to operate our waste fleet on HVO and have collected 7.5 million bins. Progress plans including securing funding, as we've just heard, for the new visitor centre at Broadland Country Park. Funded a continuation of business regulatory support hub worker. I'm sure Nick will remember this debate at ONS, a non-partisan way, but the Cabinet, myself, had to consider this and iterate it. We didn't have to take this forward and find funding for it, but we did. And this really does support small businesses and in terms of their needs and their understanding and their futures. Support with Broadland Living to start trading, and it has taken over responsibility for BDC properties management functions and has purchased 6 properties for rent. Investing in our future by investing £558,000 into new and existing local businesses through 111 grant payments via Business Builder programme. Supporting entrepreneurs and strengthening our local economy, this initiative has provided small grants, specialist monitoring and training, helping local businesses grow and thrive. Supported skills employment with over 140 individuals having received direct employment support, with many securing jobs, training and voluntary opportunities. Additionally, 30 apprentices have started their careers through the Building Futures programme, equipping them with the skills needed for their future success. We continue to fund the community grant scheme with over 50,000 invested in 7 community projects, including developing community activities in Halstead Parochial Church, contributing to the cost of a minibus supported in Duzzledale, and Helsden football teams, and improving community facilities in Acle, Brundle, Buxton and St Faith's. A further £18,000 has been invested in 56 small grants under £500 that have helped start new projects, protect vital community groups, support our promising sports stars and coaches, plus enable communities to offer a relief in the pressures of winter to residents. Over the past year, we have expanded our social prescribing service to cover every GP surgery in Broadland, giving all of our residents access to community connectors in their local areas. In this budget, I'll draw members' attention to page 237, 2.17. I'm proposing an increase in funding to ensure adequate provision for the predicted increase in homelessness from 198,750 in 24-25 to 810,644 in 25 and 26. Section 2.20, Cabinet will be considering end of year 24-25 quarter 3 budget position, and it is anticipated we will have achieved a surplus of 264,000, which will be well received and help in terms of our capital issues that exist. 2.23, read a capital programme, specific provision is being given to transfer 50,000 to capital funding reserve, and 500,000 is also proposed to transfer to the waste reserve to help fund future need vehicle purchase. Due to our careful financial management, I am able to propose that we freeze the rate of council tax 134.91 band D. Furthermore, some of our residents will see a reduction in their council tax, as we are proposing to cut the special expenses charge for Great Witchingham residents by nearly £5 to just 10. For Helsden residents, their special expenses charge will reduce by even more, by over £9 to just 15. Regarding the capital programme, we have reviewed the capital budgets to ensure all items are fully supported for this administration's visions and priorities. The programme totals £23.6 billion over the next 5 years. And although we acknowledge there is further work to do, we have committed to continually reviewing the capital programme to ensure that Council obtains value for money for every penny of expenditure, and the capital programme is affordable both now and in the long term. Regarding Treasury Management Strategy, we remain committed to ensuring that taxpayers' money is secure and invested appropriately to deliver financial returns to support our core services. Our Treasury Management strategy therefore places appropriate restrictions on the types of investments that will be utilised and does not propose any new borrowing. Finally, as well as approving the Broadland budget papers as billing authority, we also have to formally set the overall council tax for our residents. The council tax resolution paper therefore takes our elements of council tax and adds into this the amount we have been asked to collect by Norfolk Council, the police and crime commissioner and the parishes on their behalf. We have no overall control of the level of that issue of these other bodies. It is worth noting that the Broadland element of the council tax is less than 6% of the total bill, and we are the only major preceptor not to put up council tax charges this year. I believe the Broadland council tax charge, £134.91, or just £2.60 a week, represents excellent value for our residents, and I therefore highly commend and recommend the reports to the council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can I ask for a second, please? Councillor Holland, do you speak now or reserve the right? Reserve the right. Okay, thank you. Can I have any comments from members then, please? Just a note for members, it's 9 minutes per member maximum. Don't have to take it all up though, please. Councillor Wymarkin, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the portfolio holder for presenting this budget, and also for freezing council tax. I think it's we're all very, very pleased that is the case for our residents, and obviously we're continuing to keep services as they always have been, very, very good indeed. Okay, and also the reserves. The fact that we've still got the same amount of reserves as 2 years ago is a very pleased indeed to see that. What I wanted to say is there's obviously significant pressures, as we know, and we've referred to them in many parts here. Actually, page 242, 6.6, you talk about different pressures, inflationary pressures, and we all know about living wage, higher fuel prices, and the increase of purchasing new vehicles. But there's also a shortfall on the national insurance levy on employees, from employers. Hang on, get it right way around. Sorry, and but you know, unfortunately, this government has left a gap there. So obviously, that's a gap that needed to be filled too. So I think that's unfortunate, and really we should have put that within the inflationary pressures too. There, I know I have raised it before, but in two places here, in 8F and in 8G, we refer to the internal and external borrowing. And I've raised this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the way this is written on page 243, 7.6, and also page 264, 9.4 is exactly the same. But it's written as if there's an assumption that we will replace the internal borrowing for the housing that we've bought with the local authority housing fund with external borrowing. I know there is a caveat there in as much as it says at an appropriate point in time, and we're not aiming to borrow next year, but there seems to be an assumption within the way this is written still, and I'd really like that to be dispelled by the portfolio holder. I know he has mentioned that before, and I know the leader has said I'm getting into semantics, but semantics matter. So I would like that to be clarified, really, if that's at all possible. There's another thing as well, actually, on page 275. When we look at the money with Broadland growth, currently we have £5 million in Broadland growth. And I see that there's no plans here in the capital programme around Broadland growth financing. But if you actually look at and it may be just an error, and if it's an error, I'm very happy with that. But there's a graph here where we've got £5 million in Broadland growth reserve on the 31st of March 2025, i.e. this year, but then no more after that. Now, is that just an error, and it should be on the graph, or you know, where has that money gone? So I just wanted that clarified, really. So if you can clarify those points, I'd be very happy indeed. But overall, I think it's a good budget, and I'm very pleased that we've got where we have today. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any other members? Councillor Cobblestone.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to congratulate Councillor Riley on this budget, and I'm sure our council taxpayers will be absolutely delighted that their council tax isn't going up again, as many things have got more expensive over the last year. Previously, we've had a local government settlement of about 3% increase year on year each year, so it was hugely disappointing to have the government settlement 2.72% less than last year. And as Councillor Wymark has said, we've got the additional burden of £250,000 of employers' national insurance, which we expected to be covered by government. And that hasn't been the case. We've only received 107,000 back from government to cover the national insurance contributions. So that is hugely disappointing. But again, I just want to say we're very pleased as a Conservative group that you are freezing council tax. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cobblestone. Councillor Bullman next.
It's a question, please, if I may, for the portfolio holder. I've searched through the report and I can't see employee numbers anywhere. And usually I find in the budget there is a listing of actual numbers of staff. I can see financially the impact of staffing, but I can't see the actual numbers itself, unless I've missed it. So if I missed it, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Councillor Bull. Any other questions or comments from other councillors? Councillor Roper.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased we've got a level of unanimity in the room, I think, tonight for once, and that this is an excellent budget. And we've heard from members about the types of pressures that this council is under with the reduced funding from the government, and the future national insurance changes have been raised. And yet what you have here is a council which gets on with the job, that we've managed to produce a budget that still has a council tax freeze for residents. As Councillor Wymark has said, reserves are as they were. There is no reduction in reserves. There is no reduction in the services which our residents will be experiencing. This Cabinet is also rolling out its delivery plan. Over 80% of that is on track as it stands. We've rolled out an excellent community grants programme in the past year, which is putting more money to local organisations. And all of that when it appears to be raining as far as the external environment is concerned, around the economy over the past couple of years, certainly, and with the tax and the settlement changes. So I think really it is time for congratulations really to the portfolio holder and the team. We could have sat back and complained about the weather and the situation with government, but no, we've got on and we've done the job, and we've delivered a first-class budget for Broadland. And we'll say it again, the only council tax freeze in Norfolk is by Broadland District Council. And a lot of people said, and some in the room, that when the Conservatives lost control, the roof would fall in, everything would go to rack and ruin. The absolute opposite has proved to be the case. And I think this budget shows that there is another way in Norfolk and in Broadland of different ways to do an administration, and I commend the budget.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roper. Just a quick one before we go to the other members. So, Councillor Bullman, your question on FTE, so the number is on page 249. If you look at page 249. No? No worries. That's that same question being answered. So, we have the Councillor Clancy next, and I've got you next. Okay, Simon.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I would like to join the chorus of saying an excellent work, excellent budget, and it is really delivering for Broadland residents and small businesses. And I think it's congratulations to the portfolio holder and all involved. And I genuinely, sincerely mean that. Just a note of caution, there is storm clouds on the horizon. I hope we're going to be looking after our SMEs over the next few months. There is a risk of recessionary pressures. There is a risk of return of inflation. And I think we have to be acutely aware of that to make sure we are protecting our small businesses as best we possibly can. I know there's some good stuff in train, and I know some good stuff which historically has been done, and I know there's some good stuff still being done. I would encourage also the council, just to highlight this, Norfolk County Council have launched a High Street and Market Town initiative. I would encourage Broadland District Council to get involved in that as well through the Economic Development Department, because you will get a bigger bang for the buck if basically resources are combined and you work together to achieve betterment for our local high streets and market towns. I think, you know, it would be a great thing to do that as a joint initiative. It would be also in the spirit of where we're heading. We're heading for devolution, we're heading for unitary. And the bottom line is we're going to have to be doing these things together. We're going to have to be doing these things in a joint up way. So it's just a note of caution, but I would reiterate congratulations to all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clancy. Councillor Starr next.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say thank you to the whole team who put this together, and well done to the Cabinet for all the sensible decisions that have been made over the last year. I think when you look at the reasons given or hinted at as why we need local government review, supposedly it's because councils have failed to deal with temporary accommodation issues, councils have failed to balance their budgets or freeze council tax, they've not maintained reserves, they're not doing the things that residents want them to do at the same time. And this council has proved that it can do all those things, and rather flying in the face of the claim that councils have to be changed, altered, amended or binned purely to meet the objectives which clearly this council have met. When you think about the fact that we're investing in support for small business, as Councillor Riley alluded to, something which ONS looked at and something which we asked him to look into and the Cabinet to find the money for, and they did this, and still we froze the budget, and still we froze council tax. And then when you think about the fact that we've also been had an explanation of all the things that we're continuing to invest in Broadland, the country park, and many other things, you know, it's an incredible piece of work, and I think it's hats off to everybody who's been involved in putting this together, and I will be definitely supporting it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stan. Any other members, questions or comments? Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just wanted to say I never thought I'd see the day when the group of people over there would not only be agreeing with us wholeheartedly, but also thanking us. So thank you very much for that. And to agree with all the other comments about how much work has gone into this budget, it has been an absolute labour of love. So little mini round of applause for Steve there and the whole finance team for doing this, particularly in regards to the amount put into our temporary accommodation budget. I think it sets out very clearly how seriously we are taking the issue of homelessness and how we want to support our officer team to best support our community. So I fully endorse this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Any other members make any questions or comments? No, so I'll refer back to the seconder.
Thank you. Well, at the risk of repeating everybody, yes, I'm very, very pleased we were able to present this budget. I think the ambitions of this council have been well met. I do want to reply to the question about the spending or potential borrowing, because I do have here the excerpt from the full council agreement on 17th of October 2024. So at item 3, the recommendation was, subject to 1 and 2, and that was to do with what we were doing with the capital budget, to borrow up to 585,000 to further these assets. And it says when interest rates fall to an appropriate rate, external borrowing will be undertaken. That is the actual wording that was used in that meeting that we all agreed to. So I think the key point is, when the rates fall to an appropriate level, that's the key point. If it doesn't, we won't. If it does, we will. And the reason for that will be because the costs of that loan will be covered by the income from the rents that are coming in. So it's not costing this council revenue in order to fund that borrowing. It is funded by the actual capital that we've spent on those items, bearing in mind we also got 40% of that from the government, so that's money that we have received in order to pay for them. So the rent will cover the cost of the loan. It's not a charge on the council from that perspective. So it will only happen when that happens. That was what was agreed. So other than that, can I just recommend this budget to the council?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite now Councillor Rise to respond at the end of the debate, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just the same point Sue's made, actually. This is all about doing the best business case in terms of the borrowing, and that really is doing proper business for taxpayer, because we will bring in capital which is needed within this council, but it will be funded via the rental income. Therefore, it's not a burden in terms of revenue. We do know that there are a lot of other councils out there that have borrowed money, and it's actually costing the taxpayer in revenue payments. That is not something that this partnership subscribed to. And there is a proportion, of course, that one could put down to that in terms of county, but I do not want to get into any discussion about that, because I think that would be a bit inflammatory, and I don't want to do that, friend, particularly in the light of your comments tonight. And really, I'd just like to say that I do appreciate the support that the officers team have given, because the way that I've iterated this budget and gone through, as I said, it's very much in line with last year's, and next year's is already being worked through in line with this budget. But just one final point, of course, LGR, and there is a paragraph in the report which clearly states that we will need to review where we are on capital, what we're doing, and in terms of revenue, possibly as a result of LGR, but that is yet to unfold. We don't know where we are. So what is also built into this budget is a degree of flexibility, just like you'd have in a corporate business, which I'm sure Stuart Clancy well understands. And we've deliberately built in flexibility into this to take account of those circumstances. And as you know, under MTFs, we're perfectly at liberty to review those accounts and the capital that we've got. So I thank everyone for the comments that they've made and for the full support for this budget. And I think I'll wrap it up there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Riley. So I'd just like to explain. Councillor Warnock.
Is there any clarity around Broadland growth reserve? Thank you.
Yeah. The Broadland growth figure, it's a snapshot. This is in the eventuality over this course of this year. We was to spend that capital. As it stands at the moment, I can't commit to any such thing that we will be spending the capital this year, but you've got to actually have a summary in your report. So it's there, if we were to spend the capital, you'll see that it actually then disappears next year. That's all that is. As for replacing Broadland growth money, that would need to come out of an venture if that was viable, as has happened in the past, as you know. So that's why the graph is the way it's written. No.
Thank you very much. Okay. Right, I'd like to explain to members that we'll now vote on each of these three items separately. So we'll go to the first item then. So 8F, the Revenue Budget and Council Tax 2025-26. So this will be a recorded vote, and we recommend to Council the approval of the 2025-26 base budget, subject to the following changes. So A is £107,365 increase the availability fund to fund in-year service enhancements if required and if necessary, costs arising from devolution, local government reorganisation in consultation with the finance portfolio holder. B, funded by final settlement additional government grant receipts of £107,365. Item 2, that the council's demand on the collection fund for 25-26 for general expenditure to be £6,770,034 and for special expenditure £62,155. And also that the Band D level of council tax remains the same level as 24-25 at just £134.91 for general expenditure, and that the Band D level of council tax be £1.25 for special expenditure. And then lastly, item number 5, change the proposed fees and charges as set out in section 6. So I'll invite Claire now to conduct a recorded vote for that item, please.
Thank you, Chairman. If members could please indicate whether they're voting for, against or abstaining. Councillor Baby.
For.
Councillor Bailey.
For.
Councillor Beadle.
For.
Councillor Berry.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Bowe.
For.
Councillor Brennan.
For.
Councillor Bullman.
For.
Councillor Catchpole.
For.
Councillor Clancy.
For.
Councillor Copplestone.
For.
Councillor Crotch.
For.
Councillor Davis.
For.
Councillor Douglas. Councillor Eden. Oh, sorry, not present. Councillor Emsall.
For.
Councillor Goodman.
For.
Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley.
For.
Councillor Harvey.
For.
Councillor Hemsall. Not present. Councillor Holland. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Karimi Gouvenu. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Laming. Councillor Leggett. Councillor Mia. Not present. Councillor Murrell. Councillor Newstead. Councillor Nurden. Councillor Potter. Councillor Riley. Councillor Roper.
For.
Councillor Royal. Councillor L. Starling. Councillor N. Starling. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Tipple.
For.
Councillor Toval. Councillor Vincent. Councillor Ward. And Councillor Yusafian. And Councillor Wymark. Thank you, that was unanimous.
That's unanimous, thank you very much, everyone. Right, okay, on to item 8G. So this is the capital strategy and capital programme for 25-26 to 29-30. This is also a recorded vote. I'd like to refer members to recommendations from Cabinet. So I'd like to invite Claire to conduct a recorded vote we recommend to council the capital strategy Appendix A and the capital programme for 25-26 to 29-30 in Appendix B.
Thank you. Councillor Baby.
For.
Councillor Bailey. Councillor Beadle.
For.
Councillor Berry. Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Bowe. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Catchpole. Councillor Clancy. Councillor Copplestone. Councillor Crotch. Councillor Davis. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Emsall. Councillor Goodman. Councillor Gurney. Councillor Harpley. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Holland. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Creamy Gouverneur. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Laming. Councillor Leggett. Councillor Murrell. Councillor Newstead. Councillor Nurden. Councillor Riley. Councillor Roper. Councillor Royal. Councillor L. Starling. Councillor N. Starling. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Tipple. Councillor Toval. Councillor Vincent. Councillor Ward. Councillor Yusefian. And Councillor Wymark. Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much, Claire. Okay, item 8.8 is the Treasury Management Strategy Statement 2025-26. So refer members to the recommendations. So to recommend to council the Treasury Management Strategy Statement, the Treasury Management Policy Statement, the Annual Investment Strategy, the Treasury Management Practice, the Treasury Management Scheme Delegation, the Prudential Indicators and the Minimum Reserve Provision Statement. So I'd like to do that for a show of hands. So those in favour?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous again. Thank you very much. I'm a bit of a roll this evening. Okay, great. Okay. Like I go downhill from now. Okay, right. Okay. On to item number 9 on this agenda, but I think it's quite, yeah. Okay, this is the Council Tax Resolution 25-26. This is also a recorded vote, but we're going to go first to Councillor Riley to present his report. So, Councillor Riley, would like to propose your recommendation, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll just refer members to page 309. It's Alex 1 through till 5, and I so move the report resolution, Chair.
Okay, can I ask for a seconder then for that, please? Councillor Holland, do you want to speak now or reserve the right? Reserve the right. Any questions from any members on this item here? No, to back yourself then, Councillor Holland.
I don't think there's anything to add, thank you. I think that's fine.
Councillor Riley, do you wish to sum up?
Not on the resolution.
Okay. I'd like to refer members to recommendation on pages 311 and 312. The recommendation are too long to list here, so there's a huge list of recommendations. So I'm not going to read them all out, you'll be pleased to know. But anyhow, they're on pages 311 to 312, if members wish to read them. So I'd now ask Claire to record a vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Baby. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Beadle. Councillor Berry. Councillor Booth. Councillor Bowe. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Catchpole. Councillor Clancy. Councillor Copplestone. Councillor Crotch. Councillor Davis. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Emsall. Councillor Goodman. Councillor Gurney. Councillor Harpley. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Holland. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Creamy Gouverneur. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Laming. Councillor Leggett. Councillor Murrell. Councillor Newstead. Councillor Nurden. Councillor Riley. Councillor Roper. Councillor Royal. Councillor L. Starling. Councillor N. Starling. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Tipple. Councillor Toval. Councillor Vincent. Councillor Ward. Councillor Yusefian. And Councillor Wymark. Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much, Claire. Okay, that's all the budget items done. So moving on to item number 10, so adoption of Buxton with Lammas Neighbourhood Plan on page 318. Can I invite Councillor Beadle to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. The papers are in front of us. It's basically a legal requirement that I've got to pass this. I recommend it to the council. I know people think it's a long time to create a local plan, and it's something like 3 years in this case. But can I say it's this is by nowhere near the longest it's taken to create a neighbourhood plan, but I commend it to the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beadle. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Goodman, you wish to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll speak now.
Okay, great.
Just that it has been 6 years of voluntary work. They've poured their hearts and souls into this. It's been amended and amended and then amended again on recommendation. I think every aspect's covered and I think it's a very good plan. I hope people will vote for it.
Thank you, Councillor Goodman. I'd like to invite any questions or comments from any members here.
Chair, just a quick comment.
Right, yeah.
Again, as Mark, I'm Vice Chair down at Buxton, and it's been quite painful at times because we've had, it's a small parish council, and you rely upon volunteers to go and do this work. It takes an incredible amount of time for a volunteer. So a big pat on the back to the team that was involved with this, and commend it to the council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Riley. Any other questions, comments over? Okay. I'd like to go back to Councillor Beadle. Do you wish to speak again? Okay, great. So I'd like to now refer members to the recommendation on page 321 to recommend that the council agrees to adopt the Buxton with Lammas neighbourhood plan. So ask councillors to vote by show of hands. Those in favour?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous as well. Excellent, thank you very much. Great, okay, moving on to item number 11, the Monitoring Office report. I'd like to invite the leader to present the report, please.
Thank you. Sorry, yes, you'll see it's a very short report this time. There are just two movements on committees. I can't see that anybody's going to have a problem with those, but obviously if you feel like saying something, please do, but that's all there is to argue. There's two movements on committees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder for that then, please? Councillor Redwood, you'll speak now or reserve the right?
There's nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any questions from any members here this evening? No. So back to leaders, you should sum up there. That's what I ask you.
We're there, I think, aren't we?
We're there, okay, great. So I'd like to refer to members' the recommendation below that the council approves the appointment of Councillor Hartley to the joint appointment panel in accordance with section 2 of the report, and appointment of Councillor Berry to the Communities Housing and Planning Policy Development panel in accordance with section 3 of the report. So I'd like to ask members to vote by show of hands. Those in favour?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, moving on to item number 12, outside organisations. I can advise that councillors have no reports, but I think we've got a councillor. Yeah, you're going to remember who? Yeah, Caroline. Remember who's going to say.
I don't know how many of you know about the Broadland Older People's Partnership. It's a partnership of membership is free for people over 55, so you're all welcome to join if you wish.
Excuse me?
Not you. We are getting quite low on members for the group, and it does provide information for older people, what benefits they can claim, where they can go to for help and everything. We've got 3 events coming up during the year. I intend to give a poster to Democratic Services, and I would ask them please to send it out to all members. If you could print it off and display it in your wards, that would be very helpful. If you could promote it in any way, we do need more members, please. So thank you for your help for that.
Thank you very much, Jen. Okay, moving on to item number 13, agenda questions from members. I can advise council there is no questions from members received for this evening's meeting. Okay, moving on to item number 14, motions. So we've got a motion here, 14A. So this is that Broadland Council commits to support SMEs, motion submitted by Councillor Coppleston. So that's on page 329. So I'd like to invite Councillor Coppleston to present the motion. So you have 5 minutes there.
Thank you very much, Chair. Many small and medium-sized enterprises across Broadland are struggling to survive. Revenue costs have risen due to increases in employer national insurance contributions and the minimum wage. The stagnation of the economy over the last 6 months, compounded by the predicted increase in the inflation rate by 3.7% by autumn 25, has led the Bank of England to halve its growth forecast from 1.5% to 0.75% this year. On the 6th of February 25, The Guardian, while reporting the quarter-point reduction in interest rates commented that the UK was entering a period of stagflation when weak economic growth is coupled with high inflation. Clearly, the need to support SMEs and stimulate the growth in Broadland's economy is vitally important. And I would ask the Council to commit to use at least 50% of business rates pooling funds to stimulate economic development in Broadland, and use the successful Business Builder programme for 25-26 as a vehicle to support our SME businesses with both capital and revenue grant funding. Thank you.
Can I go back to Councillor Gobstone? Can I have a seconder for that, please?
I'll second that. And
Councillor Emerson, do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll reserve the right.
Okay, right. Okay, I'd like to invite debate for members. You've got 3 minutes each. You can only speak once. Any members? Yep.
Thank you, Chair. This motion is factually incorrect and completely unnecessary, so I ask the Council not to vote to it. The first inaccuracy is that revenue costs have not risen due to the increase in employer national insurance and the minimum wage, because they've not happened yet. Neither start until April, and if anything has caused businesses to be struggling to survive, it is the total economic incompetence of the last Tory government. What is more, when the changes do come in, small employers will actually pay less national insurance because the employment allowance will increase from 5,000 to 10,500. This means that many small businesses will pay no employer national insurance since they do not pay the first 10,500, and many others will see a reduction. I spent 2 days a couple of weeks ago judging the finalists in the Broadland Business Awards, and I can assure the Council that those businesses, all SMEs, were not struggling but thriving. It's an insult to all our wonderful businesses in Broadland to suggest otherwise. What is more, Broadland has the second highest median wages in Norfolk, and our shop boards have dropped to 6% compared with 14% nationally. Hardly signs of businesses struggling. The second inaccuracy is the economy is not stagnant. It has grown in the last quarter. Also, wages are up 6% nationally, so that people's standards of living are at last starting to rise after 14 years of stagnation. It really is a barefaced cheat for the Tories to talk about the rate of inflation when it rose to 11% under their inept management after Liz Truss trashed the economy. The good news is that interest rates are at last coming down after the disaster to mortgage players that she caused. However, I do agree that we always need to support our SMEs, and indeed all our businesses, and that is my economic development team's job. My department spends over £1 million a year. Half is spent on the wages of officers who give specialist mentoring, advice and training, helping businesses to grow and thrive. The rest grows on grants to help businesses. This last year, we have given out 111 grants totalling £558,000. Last year, the Business Rates Pooling Fund, the motion refers to, amounted to £800,000, which goes into the General Revenue Fund. So we actually spent more than half of that figure on businesses, so the percentage in the motion would be a reduction. The last part of the motion describes what the Business Builder programme already does, so it is completely unnecessary. We've already committed £126,000 from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund to it for next year, and there will hopefully be more to come from the Rural Shared Prosperity Fund. If the Tories are going to go on putting political motions, they should at least get the facts right, unless, of course, they're copying their leader at Prime Minister's questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Booth. Any other members? Councillor Holland, yeah.
Yeah, I do just have one comment. The business rates pooling has been worked very well in Norfolk for some considerable time. Unfortunately, last year, the County Council leader decided to change the way it was worked out so that actually Broadland lost out on that. So we don't actually get as much as we would have done on the old system, which I think is a bit of a shame. And that was a unilateral decision by the Norfolk County Council leader. Unfortunately, if we don't all agree to go into that pool, we don't get anything. So I think it is a good thing to be in. I think it's just a shame that the way it's worked out has actually cost Broadland some of that funding.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holland. The other members, Councillor Starland.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that we spend considerably more than that 50% target set. I think when people set a target of at least 50%, there's a perception amongst a lot of people that means you can lower it down to 50%. The fact that we are spending considerably more than 50%, I would say gives businesses and small businesses confidence in what we're doing, and any potential lowering, saying we will reduce it to a minimum of 50%, it would actually reduce confidence of small and medium-sized businesses in what we're doing. And we've already highlighted in this meeting twice, I think, about how we've actually invested in small business support. So as a council, I think we do a lot right, and I don't see a need for this motion, particularly when, you know, we can take selective quotes from newspapers, but, you know, sometimes reality bites. It says here the UK outlook for stagflation is rising and prices and slowing economic growth will be seen this year. This was from the Financial Times in 2022. So, you know, we can all pick and choose our quotes from newspapers.
Thank you, Councillor Starland. Any other members? Councillor Wymark, yeah.
Thank you, Jim. I just find it just incredible, really, that people are just talking against themselves. This says at least 50%. At least 50%. The cabinet member there has actually said that we're doing more than that, which is fantastic. But he cannot support this. We're not talking about reducing to 50%. We're talking at least 50%. Now, at least means over and above, right? So really, you know, if you're talking now about 60% or 70%, that's fantastic. What we're saying is let's keep it up there and let's keep supporting our local businesses. Now, if we can't support this, then I think there's something seriously wrong in our thinking. We're only asking people to continue supporting local business. That's very simply what it says. I just find it very, very difficult to understand why anyone would say anything different to that. Thank you.
Any other members make a comment? No, so can I go back? Oh, come on there, Councillor Roper, sorry. It's hard to see about the corner.
Thank you, Chair. Barely 10 minutes ago, this council unanimously passed the budget, which clearly set out the levels of support that this council is providing to businesses in Norfolk, in Broadland, and the excellent work of our team here. We've already said that actually the council is going over and above already what it says in this motion. As Councillor Wymark says, the work is fantastic in terms of what we're doing. Hence, why on earth do we need this sort of party political government bashing motion when actually Broadland District Council is doing exceptionally well in this area? If the motion is going to just be a pat on the back for the council and the good work it does, that's fine. But if you're going to try and tie it to some sort of party political diatribe, frankly, you're not going to get support within this chamber for doing so. And I think there is more that unites us than divides us in this chamber. We're all behind the team. We're all behind our local businesses. It's unfortunate that this motion has been put in the way that it has. Unfortunately, like others, I can't support it. Let's vote it down and let's just carry on with the good work.
Thank you much, Councillor Roper. Any other councillors comment? No, so we'll go back to the second, please, and Councillor Empson.
Yeah, I do feel that some of the motions that we've had come forward have been a little bit where there've been motions that have been put forward for political reasons. We all think in our group that the climate change motions that have been forward, we haven't actually done anything different there, but we now have declared a climate emergency, but nothing has physically changed. And one of our questions there was that we did want to see targets put in to say that. Now, Broadland is a rural district with a high level of older residents and many small and medium businesses. Therefore, we've been hit by 3 of the Labour government's decisions that seem unfair to our residents. With unfair taxes on farmers, the winter fuel allowance withdrawal that impacts on our older residents, and now pressure on our businesses with proposed increased tax increases. It is only right, as a sensible council that has always focused on business development, that we do all we can to support our small and medium businesses that have seen costs increase due to counterintuitive Labour policies that work against encouraging business growth. I support this motion, and I don't understand why all the other members wouldn't support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Emerson. So, Councillor Copleston, then to sum up.
Thank you very much, Chair. I am disappointed by Councillor Booth's comments. I find them completely disingenuous. I am talking about the national insurance increase and the minimum wage increase that will happen in the financial year 25-26. You yourself, Councillor Booth, have said we've only got 126,000 going towards Business Builder from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. And yes, there might be money coming from the Rural England Prosperity Fund, but that is yet to be seen. I am very concerned about the state of our businesses and these increased costs, and there is no political gain in my book. I am just concerned about business. So I think if we could put another 250,000 to 300,000 into Business Builder, it would really, really help local businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises. I know from talking to the economic development team that all the Business Builder funding has been spent in this year, and there was significantly more than 126,000. So I ask you to support this. I think it's important that our council supports local businesses and local jobs. So I'd put this to council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Copplestone. So I'll now ask members to vote in favour for the motion and then against. So those in favour of the motion, please.
Chair.
So 18 in favour, okay. And those against the motion.
Chair.
That's 22 against. That motion is voted down and lost. Okay, that's the last item on this evening's agenda. So thank you everyone this evening for coming to this evening's meeting, and I'll declare this meeting closed at 8:37. Yeah, you're in then 8:45, aren't you?